Well, all right. Let me make sure my audio sounds good. Okay, check. Well, this is the first pod that I will ever record, but the first of many. And so, first, obviously, like I said, I wanted to thank, everyone that's helped, supported the idea, the concept, the designs. It's been actually like pretty positive. I was really shocked so far, by everyone that like participated. And typically when you think about starting something and you kind of give an idea to your friends or your family members, everyone's like, are you sure? There's a lot of tech companies that keep hearing AI, and obviously there's a lot of podcasts. Like, are you really gonna like do another podcast? And so, I thought through that, quite a bit over the last, I'd say, month or so. Um, and I'll tell you a little bit about like why I felt there was another podcast that was needed. And so, first of all, who am I? I think a lot of people start a company or a podcast because they don't enjoy what they do. And I think I am in a weird position because I'm the opposite. Actually, I really enjoy my career. um, I've had a very rewarding professional sales career in technology, and I felt I more than anything wanted to start this because of wanting a lot of my peers, friends, and I think just a lot of people out there in general to have that same feeling. I think the more people I talk to, they do not enjoy what they do, and they're doing what they're doing because of influence that is outside of everything that they even would do, right? And so, like, if you think about kind of the way you made decisions, just like anyone else, when you're in high school, 19, 20, you either make a career decision based on what your parents think you should do, your neighbor, your teachers, or just anyone in your orbit, even your friends. And so, that brings me back to why we started this. So my name is Deshaun Bates. I am the founder and CEO of Cognition IO and Tomorrow's Voices. So people probably ask, like, well, why did you start a tech company and a podcast at the same time? And honestly, I think that's been the wrong question. The real question is why not? I think we get so stuck in like I need to have everything figured out before like I do this or I do that. And I think that um, that's just not the right approach. I think we should try things. I think that like typically you see the success stories of everyone and you see them like midway through or like at the finish line almost, right? And I think that like there needed to be something a little bit more authentic, um, and show the origins of like, hey, we're starting at zero. Hopefully, a year from now, there'll be a different progress report. 2 years from now, a different progress report. But I just wanted to open up my life, open up the people around me, because I think I'm surrounded by some extraordinary people who are, in a sense, everyday, normal people who have W 2 jobs, who have founded companies, or W 2 jobs that like you're not entirely familiar with. And so I'll think about myself, for example. So I am an enterprise software sales executive for a pre-IPO startup. And some of you might say, like, I don't even know what that is. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is because when I was 19 or 18, somewhere in there, right before I went to college and, graduated from Ohio State, all the way through there, I still didn't know what an enterprise software sales executive was. It's not taught at Ohio State. It's not taught at my high school. But if you knew that there were enterprise software sales executives making 250 to 400 grand a year, you might have thought about that career path when you were younger. And so that's a lot of the reason for starting this podcast is like I have a lot of friends who are doing just that. I have a friend who sells lotion and cosmetics to pregnant women via e-commerce, and it is a very successful business that is just under the radar, but like very successful. I have friends who have started a real estate company, still work W-2, but has about 250 doors. And so these are everyday people in my life who I talk to on a daily, weekly basis that I think have a voice that needs to be heard and a story that we need to give back to the podcast. And the reason we call this Tomorrow's Voices. This is to help enable, provide insight and data back to Tomorrow's Voices. And it's not just specifically to Tomorrow's Voices, right? I mean, I think we want to make sure that it's just available to everyone, right? Whether you're 30, 35, 40, 45, and you've been in a career that like you don't necessarily enjoy, and you want to hear about, what are other people doing and how they made either a side hustle or pivoted to like a different career. That's more of like the podcast piece. And that's the fun part. Now, on the other side, like again, the tech company. Sorry, man, throat's a little dry. But I decided to start a technology company centered around data services, data insight, a search engine built on artificial intelligence that will help users for free decide and talk through personality, behavior, and be able to have some fun as well, right? I wanted to remove the scrolling through LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and you intend to go to the platform and you're searching through, and next thing you know, you're bogged down in these comments. And now you're like 2 or 3 minutes in the comments. I mean, it is just nasty and people going back and forth at each other, and it takes away from like the purpose of like why you even went to the platform. And so I wanted to remove that and really call it like a frictionless, purpose built engagement model, if that makes sense. It's really a mouthful, but like it's really to say we're going to consolidate and we're going to put everything on a single pane of glass so that users can come to Cognition IO. IO is for infinite outcomes. I'm sure there's people just curious, like, what does that even mean? Um, and Cognition is just centered around, we decided on the name in terms of just like invoking thought, like deep thought, which is like my teaching background coming from like cognitive functions at an early age for like kids. And so I kind of combined it, blended it together. And we're building like I said, a platform that helps users come. They speak to Izzy, who is the artificial intelligence powered engine, and she helps really the user discover, hey, what are you passionate about? What problems are you trying to solve for? And I think outside of that, she can ask questions, you can ask back and forth. But those are the two questions I think from a societal standpoint that we need to ask. Because when you go to start a company or you go to start a new career, you have to think to yourself, what problems are you trying to solve for? Because if you're not solving for anything, I think there may be a lot of people or users out there who don't want to engage. And I think, that helps drive passion that people talk about in like when you're starting a company. And so, there's I would say there's three goals here. I mean, from the platform side, we want to drive more founders at a younger age because we live in a society now where untraditional career paths are endless. I mean, there's so many opportunities with artificial intelligence, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, like, I mean, you name it. And I just think that if we can provide data back to users earlier in their life, they can make a decision that is more centered around purpose for them, right? They understand their personality, they understand their behavior, and now they can make a decision on their career or their path based on their journey, not their parents, not their teachers, not their neighbors. And so I'll give you an example. Talked to one of my buddies the other day. I was kind of really just like, hey, is this even a good idea? Like, would you even use this? And it sparked a conversation. Honestly, I didn't think we would go down. And so my buddy's a teacher, one of my best friends, grew up together, like pretty much brothers. And he was like, well, I would love to start a lawn care business while I am off for the summers. He's like, this would be great for me to like go to the platform, tell Izzy, hey, I want to start a lawn care business. And Izzy will then ask him questions back to really start to form a relationship and an understanding and machine learning that works in the background to kind of really give him his preference of like content he wants to see on the content page. But the important part is the data sheet page. Now, the data sheet will be for paid members. And so to start, I mean, who knows, but I think the business model works for, $10 a month. We're going to give users, you get unlimited searches, search queries, and you get unlimited data sheets. And so when I talk about data, it's really about, okay, I want to start a lawn care business, and you get a data sheet that says, well, hey, um, here are the top reasons, top 5 reasons why lawn care businesses failed in 2024. Here are the top 5 reasons why lawn care businesses succeeded in 2024. And then under that, there's a layer that shows 42% failed in year one, 60% failed in year five, and 70% failed in year 10 or beyond. And so we only want to provide that type of data, not to deter you from making that decision. We actually want you to have that raw data for you to actually double down on your decision. And I say that because if you don't have conviction about what you want to do and don't believe in it enough to say whoever says like it's not a good idea, or you show that data sheet to your wife or husband or your parents or whoever it is, or your peers, mentors, and they say, based on that data, I don't think you should start the company. And if you look at that data and say, you know what, I know what I'm getting myself into, I'm going to start the company. That's what we want to provide. We want to provide enough data for you to continue to either make a decision you thought you wanted to make and just double down on it, or decide to pivot. Regardless, we are agnostic. We just want to provide you with the data set. And that's the reason for creating the platform. So technology, I think it's we're not creating groundbreaking technology. People are like, well, why wouldn't you go to ChatGPT, or why wouldn't you go to Instagram or YouTube, or why wouldn't you just go to them individually? And I'm like, hey, we're going to integrate with them. You can go to those platforms and still do what you're doing, but we want you to come to Cognition.io to have a purpose-built scrolling or engagement and learning and skill building. That's what it's for. You come here, you remove the friction. There are no comments. You'll be able to share your data sheet with your peers, or your executive summary. We'll get into that as well. But like, there will be a share feature, and then you can have private conversations around like, like I said, my buddy who's the lawn care example. If he decided like, hey, I want to do this, he shares it with me, and I say, hey, yeah, man, based on this data, like, there are some risk. We understand the risk, but like, I think you should do it. And he's like, well, I think we should do it together. And I think that's the kind of collaboration that like we want to foster on the platform. Um, Versus, hey, let's comment back and forth. And then you get people comment on the page that don't really even care about, what you're doing, like on an Instagram perspective or LinkedIn. And they just want to kind of stir the pot and take things to like, you know, a level that just isn't productive or useful for anyone. And so, and to be honest, like I love those platforms. I use them. I use them very much every day. But I found myself at 3 a.m. the other night. I mean, this is probably about a month ago, feeding my newborn, and I was scrolling through LinkedIn, and I was like, there, I don't know, there could be a better way of doing this. Um, Also, just watching a lot of podcasts. I'm like, I love Joe Rogan. I love Call Her Daddy. All those are really good, but they're all famous people. And, I think it's discouraging sometimes. Like someone may go to a podcast like that and say, well, I don't even think I could be that person. Um, which you shouldn't think that anyway, but it happens a lot. And so what I want to create is a podcast, a community around people that I know, everyday people who have founded companies, who have great, successful, high earning careers that are just not really spoken about in high school or college, that aren't doctors and aren't surgeons. And like, there's still something to be said about those careers as well, right? I think those are obviously, we need those. And so I think we want to help continue to provide data around those as well. But like, I don't want you to go become a doctor just because like your parents think you should become a doctor and it doesn't fit your personality or behavior. You don't have the data to help you drive and make that decision. So we're just trying to provide better data driven decisions on what you should do. So hopefully, this was helpful. Not a lot of rambling, but I tend to sometimes. But I just, I don't know. I just want to get my thoughts out, and um, I don't know, just like be open, transparent, authentic. Take me for who I am. Some of you may say, you know what, Deshaun, I don't want to hear you every week or on a mic, and that's why I created a separate page. So, like most of the content will be there. But I first of all appreciate. I mean, I've probably gotten like 15 followers on the page so far. Like, and for you 15 out there that I saw follow my page, like of my friends and family, um, I appreciate it. I notice it. I know who you are. So thank you. To the others, I don't take it hard. So if you enjoy it, you want to hear more about it, jump on over. Um, but this is the beginning of something I think is really special, really needed. And regardless, we're going to have fun. We're going to take some risk and not really care as much about like what people think. Because if I did, I wouldn't even have started it. So go Bucks. Uh, Go UT as well. When Ohio State's not playing, everyone knows I'm a Texas fan as well. Uh, and yeah, have a good weekend. More to come. Thanks.